Hello, my friends, and welcome to tonight's episode of The League of Amazing Adventurers. Lower the volume so my friends don't echo on twitch.tv/tabletop rules. Hi there. We are at episode 64. It's a full stack of episodes. Look at us. And that was a Minecraft joke. But I'm very happy about that. We're at episode 64. We just got back from our break, but before we go into the episode, and boy, is it going to be a fun episode, we are going to get into a few announcements, including some programming announcements. Number one, on Friday, we have the Calling Chronicle. That is returning after our winter break this week, I believe. It's the 14th, yes. That is returning this week after our winter break as we continue the tournament arc. Then on Monday, of course, we have the Strength of Thousands AP, where we're going to be finishing off Book 1 this Monday. And yeah, that'll be a good time. And then
Possibly with the party death, who knows?
Maybe with a party death. Probably not with a party death. I have healing spells prepared to stop that from happening.
You'll be the first to fall.
That's the point. That's Igor's goal, is to die. Die honorably and redeem himself. Yay. Then we have our lovely League of Amazing Adventurers every Wednesday. It's this show right here that I GM. And oh boy, I'm excited for the next arcs that we got because they're going to be fun. Right, so we have that. Other programming notes, some stuff is going to happen in the future, including a Pathfinder show that's going to launch at an indeterminate time. That's been kind of set back due to the pandemic things. And also some other stuff that I can't announce now, that I want to announce now, but because of restrictions and variants and such, I'm pushing back until I can actually have people with me to do them, like the cooking stream that I wanted to do with Matt.
Oh, fun!
Oh boy.
Where we're going to be making Pathfinder recipes that are provided to us in the rulebooks.
Oh no, fuck this fucking pandemic. I'm
Can we
robbed.
make Will the really cool curry recipe from my Fate manga?
We can certainly try.
I love my cooking Fate manga. It's so chill. It has literally no conflict in the book.
I'm not going to lie. The last time I had curry, it did put me out of commission almost for the entire night.
Will can't
Ow.
handle spicy food.
Oh,
His-
Will.
his
We've already got a great dynamic then.
His Canadian body just can't handle it. Yours can.
I
Apparently,
take
His
offense to that.
can't.
Then again, I'm also slightly masochistic. I get like the spicy
anyway.
chips, like, ooh, it hurts so good.
Anyway, so yeah, keep an eye out for those as things come on, and as we're able to do things, we're going to have some fun with those. And yeah, so we have that, and those are all our big announcements. The Pathfinder Society show we want to launch soon, that's going to be coming up in the near future. February, we'll get a programming schedule for February. The beginning of February might be a bit touch and go, as I might be all over the place. Yeah, that's it. That's all of our announcements. I'm going to roll the intro, and then we'll get right into the game. Last time on the League of Amazing Adventurers. Well, I guess 2 last times ago, we'll start with the last time. Our party successfully beat up a giant undead monstrosity.
Yeah, we did.
By jumping between airships and with the aid of their Viatori allies.
Cannons.
Yes, and that is in fact
Witches
a canon
love
episode.
cannons.
And speaking of canon episodes, immediately after that, our party was whisked away to a winter wonderland, in which was created by Garl in order to bring everyone closer together for the holidays.
Sweet summer child. Or winter child in this case.
Canada.
And yeah, we're going to pick up about a week after the holiday festivities, maybe even hypothetically 12 days after it. After the new year has begun in this world, now that it occurs to me, I never actually named the planet that this world is on. I just named the nations.
We're 64 episodes in, babe.
Yeah, I know. It just occurs to me I never named the planet. Anyway.
To be fair, would they name the planet? I mean, our planet is just named Dirt.
We'll name it Dal Torre.
But yeah, so the new year has begun. Everyone's kind of gotten back into the routine of their day-to-day life here in the camp. A number of the Viatori refugees and the Opal Empire refugees have basically gone away, but a few notable leaders have stayed at the camp, including Drevrin and including Beatrix and like the other B-side party.
B-side party.
Yeah, the
I mean,
B-side
it's
party.
true.
It's like the
It's
tape.
true.
Yeah, that's what we're going to pick up. Basically, a couple weeks after that, y'all have had some time. Everyone's kind of been working, but now you all have basically a. This is the first day where y'all don't have any like crazy like. Okay, we need to go escort this group of people to. We need to go escort this group of people to Magdia and make sure they get there safe. We need to do this. This is the first day where y'all don't have any like duties of heroes and like. I guess like rebellious war rebellion people. You are the rebel
in that
spies.
case. In that case, I would imagine Garl would engage in her usual training method of finding the nearest tree and punching it until it falls over.
Yes, and believe it or not, the people of the camp are actually very happy that this is Garl's training method, as it's made like expansion surprisingly easy. Like they don't have to clear much bush because just from Garl like training, it's cleared bush for them.
It's a pity she doesn't know this is going to result in terrible arthritis in her hands in her later years.
That's what restoration's for.
Yes.
I keep forgetting we have magic.
We got magic. But
Hair
that
loss.
afternoon,
Magic.
Gwen and Alessandra wanted to talk to you about some intelligence that they had received, and to basically plan the next move for the party. But you all have that morning and probably that evening after the meeting to do stuff. So, at the beginning of this day, is there anything that anyone wants to do other than punching trees, which is just kind of like a cutscene-y?
After Garl's done punching trees, Cassandra will find her and say, hey, Garl, I just wanted to check in with you on how you were feeling about maybe doing the modify memory password thing.
Oh, yes, that. Took me a moment. I forgot after Winter Wonderland. All crazy stuff happened. Remind me, am I supposed to be picking the new word, or are you picking the new word?
The new word's up to you, so you can tell whoever you want.
I'll have to think about that. It's like picking a new tattoo. You want to be significant and will age well.
Take your time. We don't have to do it right away. It's whenever you're ready and whenever you feel comfortable.
Just picturing the slowest horse crossing the finish line. She adopts the thinking man pose.
In the back of your head, because in the back of your head, Abby, you hear a very familiar voice, the voice of Aranari. I would personally recommend pineapple.
Say, Aranari, stop it. No eavesdropping. We've talked about this, probably.
Oh, ain't no dropping no eaves, sir.
Go get some potatoes, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
I would kill for some good potatoes right now.
But yes, that's what you hear. Just for a moment. Oh, my internet's unstable.
I imagine Cassandra's like a relatively like calm and like composed and gentle person until she hears Aranari, and then it's like somebody stuck a finger in an electric socket, and she's like, Aranari!
We've talked about this.
I'm not that annoying, please.
You're getting there.
Yes, you are.
The fact that you have to say that is a poor indication.
Aranari truly is my worst self.
Aranari is my least favorite NPC by like 600 miles.
That's valid. But yeah.
That's including my parents.
I would rip off his limbs and force feed them to him if I could.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
As Abby, I actually kind of like him.
We worry about you, Abby.
We do.
Thank you too.
I mean, personally, they would grow back, Carl. It wouldn't be much of an inconvenience. It'd be a little bit of indigestion, probably.
He's just in a silly, goofy mood. Oh.
Indigestion? What do you have to eat?
So that
What?
conversation happens.
I'm not here, but what?
Yeah.
Can you explain how indigestion would... You're not going to explain it.
I'm not going to find.
Okay.
Moving on.
Moving right along.
But yeah, so as that conversation is kind of wrapping up, a number of the workers actually are now coming out. It's like, Garl, thank you very much for your help. Tomorrow, if you wouldn't mind, and they point to like a larger tree, training on that tree, it would help us out a bunch.
Did it say something bad?
Yes, it
Flares
told
at
us
the
to
tree.
leave it alone.
That sounds suspicious.
I mean, trees, you can't trust them.
I don't care what it says.
I mean, personally, I can only trust a tree as far as I can throw it, and I'm nowhere near as buff as you.
Well, remember, it's not just the appearance of buffness that's important. You have to put in the work to actually gain the upper body strength, which takes time and dedication and tree punching.
About being buff in here. In your heart.
Oh, I thought you were pointing at like the collarbone.
That too. Clock, clock.
It's not fun to break.
No.
Unless it's the other person's. Then it makes a really satisfying crunch. Now I'm hungry.
I mean, you have the drive, you have the power. It would make sense that you stay hungry and devour. Anyway.
Okay.
Is this what going insane feels
Yes,
like?
it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, after that, basically, they leave you all alone, and they start basically setting up what appears to be a small hut. Corellia, you would know that that's actually going to become basically like a place for Drevrin to stay.
Oh.
Yeah,
Nice.
because he's going to stay in there.
I think that's probably when Cassandra and Garl see Nim coming out of the house and heading towards like where Drevrin has been known to stay.
Yeah, there's like a camp, like an actual like camp. Drevrin has his own tent, and it's like quite filigree. I'm assuming Corellia would have like a keen eye on it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Little side eye. Like,
But yeah, that's where I'm headed. If you want to join me, you can. If you don't worry.
oh, if you need the company, absolutely.
totally up to you. You just see her headed in that direction.
I say, well, Carl, take some time to think on it. I'm going to see what Nim's doing. A little curious. Tick, 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 tick.
Oh, Cassandra, going for a morning walk?
Oh, I just saw you were headed towards Drebrin's tent, and I didn't know if you needed any company, so I figured I'd ask if you needed company.
Yes, I mean, it's probably fine either way. Honestly, I just hadn't had an opportunity to speak with Drevrin. I mean at all, basically since we were in the Opal Empire the first time. I mean, we spoke a little bit in the Shadow Plane, but truly only about, the most necessary of things. And honestly, I think I'm missing some pieces, and also I just want to know what his plans are for rebuilding, or I don't know. I feel a little bit bad. His nation is so scattered at this point, and it seems he intends to stay here, so I don't really know what his game plan is.
Well, it does seem like good information to get. I'd love to overhear if you're all right.
Absolutely.
I'll stay.
More than welcome. Plus, another brain thinking of more questions is always helpful.
After you.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, he probably will keep the crown off of his head if you're in the room.
I forgot about the crown.
It's funny you say that, because as you are all walking in, Drevrin kind of turns around, sees Corellia coming in, takes the crown off, puts it onto the table.
And Nim just gives Cassandra a...
Cassandra,
Yes, Nimbus. Cassandra, how may I help you? I'm sorry, I've been getting paperwork and things ready to go for me. I've been
We're all
quite busy.
I mean, we just wanted to check in. I'm not totally sure what your game plan is in terms of where you're planning on rebuilding, where you're planning on staying, and any plans for communications to the refugees in Megdia, and if we can help in any way.
Well, unfortunately, much of my country has been reduced to, well, not even islands, to former islands.
Smaller
seashells
islands.
That only on low tide have your ankles above water. So, I've been having to plan out for that. And quite honestly, I've made a couple of calls. Some decisions are in the process of being made, and I'm in the process of deciding between the two currently.
Care to share?
Yes. So my personal plan is to find unsettled areas, perhaps go on a voyage with our people across the sea, from what we have mapped currently, and finding a new place to make routes. However, and he points to the crown, the crown has a couple recommendations as well, including colonizing Isil, and taking territory from Treladar after they are mercilessly crushed by all of you, I assume.
Well, those are probably both safer options than putting everyone on ships and braving the open ocean. But that's actually something that I myself have been rather unclear on. We haven't run into anyone since we've kind of settled here in Isil, and obviously, I mean, I'm not planning on staying forever, but I don't know what the local life is like here.
My understanding is that the reason why people have not settled here most of the time was because of the flying snakes.
I actually haven't encountered a single one of those. I had read about them, but quite frankly, not a single one. And I've been all over the jungle. I had to find the right spot for the shrine that I kind of built, but not even maybe some small snakes, but none of them were flying.
Yes, there's There was told to be giant snakes that used to fly through here, the size of entire cities. So much of that mythology kept us away.
Oh. Well, that is interesting. Perhaps that will be worth exploring when there is a world to explore and not a world to save.
Or let other people explore.
That's true.
I don't want to say I hate snakes, but I don't particularly like them.
Are you afraid of snakes?
Afraid is such a strong word. More mildly terrified of them.
I
Aw.
don't think Garl is actually here for this conversation. I think you guys are talking to them yourself. But elsewhere, Garl absentmindedly stabs the ground. Does it reveal that we're all resting on a giant snake currently?
No.
Okay, I didn't
There's
expect
not
it
a
to
giant-
because I don't know anything about giant snakes.
There's
So
not a giant snake skeleton under this camp. No.
no, I meant like a living one. Like, are we on the back of a giant turtle or something?
Oh no.
Okay.
Although that would be a very cool thing for like just to zoom out to the entire planet. You're just on this like flying snake through space.
Crazier things have happened.
And it's like a halo, but it's a snake. It's cool. Anyway.
So like an Ouroboros?
Yeah.
You know, Trevor, it might be worth talking to Axleon in our archives. He was kind of telling us about a point where the Opal Empire was a whole continent and not just an archipelago. He was kind of in a stasis for a while after the events that happened in the Magiscard Waste that created the Magiscard Wastes, and he was rather shocked to learn that it had become what it is today. And I have to imagine if there was a way to sink it, perhaps there could be a way to unsink it.
Perhaps. I will have to go speak with your scholar in my own time. That's very helpful. Thank you, Nimbus.
At the very least, it'll give Axleon a bone to chew on. The poor thing, I feel a little bit bad for him. Also, I've been dying to know, what were you up to between when we left the Opal Empire and when we returned? To be a little honest, I didn't get a lot of communication from you, and I was a little surprised.
Things worked out to be beneficial for myself in our position with the Trelladarians until it wasn't. And that is the best I can say, I'm afraid.
What do you mean?
There are certain rituals that can bind a person, things that they can speak about. I made a deal with a person who sympathized with the Opal Empire and Treladar to trade information between each other. Essentially, I have a spy.
Oh. Well, that's excellent news. So we have a mole in Treladar at the moment.
Currently not in Treladar, but yes.
Oh, well, where are they then?
They are currently stationed in Kalmia.
Interesting.
In its capital, Salagoza. They're staying with the Salagoza family, the current rulers of the country.
Interesting. I confess I'm not particularly familiar with Kalmian politics.
Think noble houses at all. See to one noble house. It's very aristocratic. The country's been in decline for some time because of it.
Yes, we had the misfortune of running into one of the noble houses, the Sildons.
Yes, they have been wiped out, from my understanding.
Fascinating.
Hmm.
You know, we had ran into them on the airship, when we kind of took down Megdia the first time, but you know, the lot of them were vampires, and they kind of turned into mist, so I didn't actually think that we had finished them off.
From my understanding, once Magdia fell due to your actions, and Treladar's plans began, many of the people who sided with Magdia in Calmia were taken care of in a manner that would be beneficial to Treladar.
Ah.
There are a few less large cities on the map now, I'm afraid.
Well, silver lining, possibly, I will never have to run into another Ray clone. And that is good news. Niv is just saying the quiet part out loud. She didn't like it.
They were highly effective fighters.
Oh, highly effective fighters. Unfortunately, highly effective fighters lacking direction become highly destructive entities. At least in my experience. But about this spy of yours, is it anyone we know? Anyone we can look out for?
I cannot say any more about them due to the confines of our agreement with one another.
You understand why that worries me, yes?
Yes, I do. Just know that the agreement was not made while either party was under distress.
Yes, but are you under oath to give them information in return? And if so, what?
I'm afraid that I can tell you that I'm giving them information on one subject.
But you can't tell us what it
But
is.
I cannot tell you what that subject is.
Is it the location where we are right now? That you understand? I trust you, but
yes, it is not the location as to where I am currently at.
Okay. Well, but what about the rest of us? The resistance.
It is not the location as to any people at this camp, and it's not the location of this camp.
And it's nothing to do with our plans?
Nothing to do with our plans. Simply a party that my contact has interest in.
All right. Well, that's certainly something interesting to look out for. I think it's a bit of a toss-up at the moment whether we go to Calmia next or Litania. But, you've piqued my curiosity, Drevin.
Lutanians have been having issues with the draconic overlords that have been put into place for them.
Yes, I imagine anyone would have issues with that arrangement. But, we have heard tellings of monsters and mutants in Calmia, and that is worrying as well. Additionally, we have information that there may be, something of a weapon in Calmia that might be worth digging up. Gallant Grixley, back when he was still the leader of the League, told us about some deposits of fire crystal, I believe. Could be useful for fighting dragons.
Yes, the fire crystals. They are often, well, not only fire crystals. I believe that those were simply what the Sildon family produced. But yes, elemental crystals that grant you direct access to the elemental planes.
Oh, that is interesting.
The fire crystals were, of course, weaponized, but I'm sure there could be other uses.
That does open up some doors, because, I mean, in my limited experience, dragons often have elemental counterparts. If we were to find and weaponize materials that could counter those specific elements and take them down one by one, that would be, well, at least one strategy. But that's neither here nor there. I am really glad you're okay, Drevin.
As am I.
And I'm sorry I couldn't be more help.
I'm happy I didn't drown, and that's quite honestly much more than I was expecting.
Well, yeah. I guess I am also glad that you didn't drown. But, you take care. I think I'm going to try to, attend to some other things around camp.
Of course.
And Nim adjourns.
See you later.
Scene.
Goodbye, dear.
Yeah, oh, are you leaving as well? I was about to, like, wink to Cassandra and be like, oh my.
Oh yeah, no, Cassandra's leaving with them. She's like, oh, you got things to attend to? Okay, I'll help.
Goodbye.
I'll leave you two alone.
And like as we're pulling the camera away, you just hear Trevor mutter to himself, "Well, Nim, you tried your best." Referring to that moment.
Oh.
At the end. Referring to that moment at the end.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a lot of things he could be talking about there, and a lot of them aren't flattering.
Like, oh, that outfit.
Surprise! Everyone's a mimic version of Elisandra. Oops, all Elisandras.
By the way, how are things with Alessandra?
How are things with, interesting, better. I do worry about her. I sincerely hope she is not relying on too much of the bottle to feel. I think she is. I don't know.
Maybe you should go check on her.
And it was like actively being pushed. She's like, I just don't know. She doesn't seem to like to talk about things, and I don't want to push her to talk about things because then she's going to resent me for asking her to talk about things. But also, she should talk about them, and I don't want her to bottle them up because that's not healthy either. And I just don't know what to do.
She's standing right in front of you now.
Hangover
A
cure.
very familiar sight of Cassandra pushing somebody as they're like talking to her.
Oh boy.
Garl sees this while eating a gigantic plate of mashed potatoes. That can't be good.
Did Aranori make the mashed potatoes?
Yes.
No.
But yes.
I mean, they're really good. They've got like the little bits of the potato skin still in them.
Are you? Yes, all the food in this camp is Disney food, and 38 minutes and 53 seconds.
Oh, I didn't even think about it.
This is all your fault, Matthew.
I'm just always hungry.
That's fair.
All right,
That's
so
fair.
the two of you going to head to see Elisandra.
Sure.
I'll knock for her. Ding, ding, ding.
Come in.
Right over here.
The door just kind of gets like waved open. And you see basically like lounging on like, you know those like French style like chair beds?
Yeah,
With a
the
baking
Chaise
cabinet?
Lounge.
Yeah, like a chaise lounge. You see Elisandra in like these like nice I've forgotten the name of them. Khaki sort of colored pants, like canvas colored pants.
Painter's pants?
Yeah, like
Flax?
no, like canvas, like adventurer, like going out into the jungle canvas.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, like in this like these canvas sort of pants with like these like black boots that are just kind of like on her feet as she's like sitting there with a book in hand. Her hair is like up. There is her. She's wearing like this like white shirt that just has like two of the buttons undone and a thing of overalls attached to it.
Say less.
There's like a little table
Say more.
beside her that has like a glass of a clear liquid in it. She has a pen in her hand, and then sitting across from her, basically with the back of the chair in front of them and their legs straddled on either side, is Aranari. And then sitting on like a cushioned chair on the other side of the room, drink in hand, like a mimosa looking drink, is Gwendolyn.
Cassandra will peek her head in. Oh, Arinari, Gwendolyn, I need you in the kitchen. It's very important. Please come.
As you're opening the door, you're just hearing Arinari. Yes, and that's when I told her that it would be a crime to add a second head. We would have to add at least 3 so they wouldn't get lonely. And then you just see the two of them kind of chuckle.
Oh, that makes me so nervous.
Corellia, I'm just telling some stories of our time together. It's fine.
You should tell me, because I don't remember. In the kitchen, you, me, Gwendolyn, let's go. I'm gonna make this work.
Arinari just looks at you, looks at Alessandra, looks at Nim, chuckles. Gwen, it appears as though my former colleague is including us in a scheme of hers. And Arinari just stands up, takes the leg, and like, you know how normally a person would like stand up, step back from the chair, and like walk? He takes one leg and just steps over it.
Ugh.
Just like the most extra way possible. Walks over, helps Gwen up. Alright, Corellia, we'll humor you on this one. Come along, Gwen. Let's go have a chat.
As your former teacher, mayhaps we have a lesson in subtlety. Ding ding.
Dear, you know, you've tried to beat subtlety into me, but I'm just too ostentatious.
I've gathered.
Nim, like, fake gags.
On a side note, Arinari's gotten an update.
Has he?
Yes, they've gotten new clothing.
Am I gonna need to make a token for Arinari? Are you
I
gonna make
was
me do this?
No, I'm not.
I was hoping you were saying he was bringing out either a different kind of potato dish now or something to go with the potatoes.
No, so Arinari is now wearing a white suit jacket, but the inside, like, it's folded over. You can see like a black and white checkerboard pattern. He has like black, like very tight leather pants on. And like just like this like very nice pair of black boots with like this like 2-3 inch heel.
I'm sorry, who the fuck lounges around in tight leather pants? Why?
Arinari, apparently.
Nimbus, as he leaves, ignores him, like waves goodbye to Gwendolyn and pretends Arinari is not there.
You know, sometimes I need to reassure Nimbus that I'm not a figment of her imagination.
Ignoring him, not giving him the time of day. He's not getting a rise out of me.
Perhaps if I added butterfly wings to my thing. She seems to like butterfly wings.
I slam the door in his nose. Again, fully pretending he's not there, just like slam the door in his face.
I'll take them to the kitchen. Let's talk potato dishes.
The door slams. We'll pick up with that conversation after because I actually want to have that conversation now. But as Alessandra's just kind of sitting there, she closes her book. Apologize. Arinari was speaking to us about enhancing the wards around the camp.
Oh. Shocking. He's actually doing something useful for a change.
He's incredibly smart.
He's incredibly...
If he didn't remind me of
dickish.
absolutely everything I hated about my old self, I would probably respect him.
Also, likely a war criminal.
Oh, most definitely a war criminal. Truly, Alessandra, like, I'm not going to pretend that things were great before, but like, he is in a different league of utter irredeemable assholery. He's just
Crimes against humanity.
Did I tell you he kidnapped me? Did I mention that to you?
Yes.
Paralyzed me and made me watch as he like brutally beat the absolute teeth out of my friends with a manifestation of my own fears and anxieties. He's objectively awful. And it worries me greatly seeing him influence people around the house, around the camp. I just would rather...
My understanding is that Cassandra, I haven't asked her if I can start calling her Corellia. My understanding is that Cassandra has put a collar on him, so to speak.
Has she?
Dinky.
That is my understanding.
Hate criming me!
I have not heard hide nor hair of a collar, and frankly, I wouldn't put it past him to find a loophole anyhow. It just... I can't say I would feel completely safe just having him around, but that's...
Anyway,
that is what it is.
How may I help you today?
I need to have a difficult conversation with you. So without too much preamble, I think I'm just going to tell you.
Holds up glass, drinks.
We, during the rescue mission to get Gwen and the Viatori out of Treladar's grip, we kind of found these old tunnels and this old Treladar lab. Really nasty stuff in there. Amongst them was your former patron. You don't seem bothered by this. We thought she was deceased.
I thought I would be. Weird.
Well, I guess that's not the only news. The other thing that I really needed to warn you about is that she is looking for you still.
I mean, but you all dealt with her, I assume.
She kind of dealt with us,
Oh?
actually. There was this... So she was hiding underneath this statue. There was a statue, Garl knocked it over, and while we were... Cassandra, if I'm not mistaken. It looked a bit like her. I am right about that, right?
Yes, you are.
Out of
Think so,
character,
yeah.
I'm remembering that. Okay. I said it and then I was like, what if I'm
By the way,
wrong?
welcome to the recap episode, chat.
Listen.
We do
I'm
it better
We need to
than
remind
you.
ourselves. We've been away for a while.
Yep.
Garl pushed it over and we were kind of investigating some things on the other side of the room, and there was a staircase underneath the statue, and Garl went down, and when we realized she was gone, the Baba Yaga had kind of already been speaking to her. I was, kind of the first one down, and it sounded like she was in the middle of trying to convince Garl to, bring you to her. And then, we were all in the little basement room with her, and Garl was getting angrier and angrier, and Baba Yaga was just saying some truly heinous things. And Garl hit this crystal behind her, and this black ooze came out, and it got Cassandra, and then I tried to get Cassandra out, and it got me, and, from there on out, we were all trapped in. I think the point was for it to be an enticing dream. I think the point was to trap us there, but, personally, I think she greatly misread what I would be, enticed by. Does that make sense? So it was kind of a nightmare. For me, at least. For everyone else, it seemed kind of good. I know Garl didn't really want to leave, but she wasn't with us for most of it, so...
That would be the second time that she's subjected you to such nightmares, or tried to, I suppose.
Are we going to talk about that then?
Thank you for letting me know.
Oh, Alessandra, you have to have some kind of thoughts about this.
I do.
Why is she looking for you?
I'm most likely to try to rekindle whatever deal kept her tethered to this place.
But I don't... She doesn't seem untethered. She seems perfectly corporeal and is showing up in really inconvenient spaces. And it's still as powerful as ever.
Perhaps there's an ulterior motive. Some piece in her chess game she wants to use me as. It wouldn't be the first time.
You don't have any idea what it might be, do you? Please understand, I'm not asking... I know that you might find it painful to speak about this, and I wouldn't ask if you weren't the most knowledgeable person, well, quite frankly, anywhere when it comes to her motivations and how she operates.
Make me a persuasion check.
Persuasion or diplomacy?
Sorry.
I'm gonna
This is my
use
brain.
shameless request, so if you could lower the DC by 2.
I will lower the DC by 2.
Oh boy, I'm scrolled all the way up in Roll20. 44.
So,
Ooh.
Fancy.
Elisandra takes kind of a moment. There is a few things that I remember. However, there are things that I do not like to bring up. And especially with the awareness I have of myself, there are things that I don't think would be wise to bring up, as they might be construed as me trying to create excuses for my behavior.
Ooh.
However,
I think if you're providing context,
if she
It's
is still
okay.
here, I do want to make sure that you are all safe, especially you, Nimbus. When I was young, she would often speak to me. And she would often say things that would point me in specific directions. Oh, look at Nimbus. She has done something wonderful again. You're such trash. I should have made a deal with her. And things like that. Now, hindsight being 20/20 and me being a tad more socially aware now than I was as a child, I can recognize that as manipulation. Still does not excuse the things I did because of that manipulation, but I can recognize it as such. If she wants to use me, it's probably to inflict some sort of harm upon you. That would be my assuming, as looking back on it, that was essentially my purpose in life for many years. Make your life miserable as I could.
I mean, what choice did you have as a kid, though? That was still
couldn't
your
make a
family.
choice.
You relied on them for basic needs, shelter and food. Even if you had had the wherewithal to think to yourself, maybe this isn't the right thing to do at, 8 years old, which is an insane expectation to have of an 8-year-old. You were living with night hags. And I don't know
should
what they
been
would have done to you if you hadn't... I don't want to think about what they would have done to you if you hadn't done as they had expected.
Yes. I should have been stronger, though. But that is a conversation for another day, Nimbus.
Yes, as far as that relates to the Baba Yaga, I have to wonder... She seems to have some kind of plan for me specifically, but I can't for the life of me figure out how I am relevant to anything that she would want to bring into this world.
Perhaps it is to strengthen you?
She made a comment about that.
I know that whenever I would fail at doing something to make your life miserable or to inhibit you in some way, she would often say, look at how much stronger she's getting. You don't want her to get so far ahead of you, you can't do anything. She very much played to your strength.
I'm so sorry, Alessandra.
It's not your fault. What I was born into is not your fault.
Yes, but I come from a family of famed divination casters. We could have, at any point in my lifetime, I might have wondered, why does she do the things that she does? And I could have done anything other than just assume you didn't like me.
I thought we were out of the dream.
And I could have used the resources and the support group that I created for myself to escape that life instead of taking the soul of one of the few friends I had.
Right. What a mess.
Truly is. Got to love being a young adult. And she drinks again from the cup.
Please tell me that's water.
Shows you the cup. It is water.
Thank Desna.
No, I'm not going to turn to alcoholism. Do you know how terrible that is for your body?
It's awful. I mean, granted, I have restoration, so, like, if that's really the road that you wanted to walk down,
Yes,
you
but
could, but it has led to the
restoration
destruction
can't
of
get rid
many a
of
man.
beer gut.
Ah.
Flash cut to Garl in the lunchroom, like chugging a keg, and people going chug, 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 chug.
It's
And
a keg of
somehow
mashed
Garl still
potatoes.
has a six-pack, because even the metabolism of this world is bound by the rule of everyone is attractive.
That's
To be fair, this is the first drink she's had in like weeks.
Can I cut back to the conversation?
Yeah.
I'm still a little unclear as to why my goddess's mortal enemy would want to strengthen one of Desna's followers. I can't comprehend it. I don't understand what she would gain from that. I could see a scenario where she was pitting us against each other and saying all of those things to strengthen you, someone who theoretically would have been her champion. But I hear what you're saying, because she made a similar comment to me, and I just don't understand it. I don't suppose you have any insight as to what game she might be playing.
She liked playing games.
That
But-
she did.
The rules are often so convoluted it was hard to follow her end goal.
I played a game like that once. I think it was called Wayfinder, something like that.
Anyway, Nimbus.
Um,
I need to be prepping for the meeting this afternoon.
yes, I'm very curious to see what intel you have, but thank you for being candid with me. I do really appreciate it.
Of course. And then Alessandra puts the glass down, stands up, walks towards the door, opens it. Basically, like a...
I leave.
Make me a perception check as you do.
38?
As the door closes behind you, you hear the softest thump. As if she's just, like, sat down with her back against the door.
I sit down with my back against the door.
Oh boy. This
Maybe
is
she
like
can. Maybe she can make a perception check.
Yes, yes.
Thank God I statted her out for the one shot. No. Nothing.
Oh man.
I would like to use one of my hero points to reroll
Nope.
that.
I am going to keep that as it is.
Oh boy.
That is your villain point. You just use your villain point on me. Damn it.
I'll sit there for a while and maybe wait to hear her get up and start moving before I do the same.
Okay. About 15 minutes passes.
All right.
But we're going to jump back now to Corellia, Gwen, and Aranari. As you're walking into like the kitchen area, the canteen is basically like you can see Garl now basically chugging this thing.
And then crushes the barrel because they don't actually have metal kegs in this time period, I imagine. So it's probably a literal cask.
Yeah.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that. We need those.
The girl is going to need more potatoes after that. Probably.
No, protein now. Can't exist on carbs alone.
Coming right up, and then Aranari like goes into a drawer, pulls out a snake, puts it onto the thing.
A snake?
That snake is but a snack.
It's a dead snake.
She's still just like and hops away.
Fair enough. Oh, right. Sorry, Corellia. I'm just going to quickly cook something up for Garl. So, you know how chicken wings are made?
Uh-huh.
Imagine that, but with, like, winged snake wings.
No, I won't. Thank you.
Okay. And yeah. Aranari's just cooking up this stuff. So, Corellia, did you have a point to dragging us away from our discussion about securing the camp, or were you simply trying to set up a moment for your friend? And Gwen's just like...
Both. Honestly. Garl really liked the potatoes, and I read about cooking more than I actually do cooking. So I didn't want to mess them up, and I know you both cook to some extent. So I thought maybe you could teach me a little bit and work with potatoes. I hear potatoes are generally easy and Garl likes them.
The last time I tried to teach you to cook, we created an ooze that almost ate 4 people.
So maybe I should stick to watching this time around. I'll take notes. I pull out my notebook.
And thus you all discovered the origin of that large ooze in the underground that you fought.
I thought it was an amalgamation of failed, like,
It is,
Garls.
but like the base ooze came from cooking.
Was she cooking Garls?
Oh no, she was cooking things. Then the base ooze came, and then that base ooze got mixed into the failed amalgamation.
Understood.
Oopsies.
The thought that's going to fester.
Remember, if it's
cooking Garls,
terrifying
goodness.
or horrible, 9 out of 10, it's past Corellia that did it.
Yeah,
Oopsie, whoopsie.
She is the lore of this world.
She is. She is the library of our lore.
Aha!
But yes, so Aranari's like getting to work.
I said, in the meantime, while you make it, could you basically give me a rundown of, every horrible thing I've done? Just so I'm not surprised anymore.
Sure thing. Would you like that alphabetical or by severity?
I think by date. By
Alright,
date.
By
maybe.
date? Fair enough. And would you like that horrible by my standards, by your standards at the time, or by your current standards?
Let's do current standards.
That's going to take a little bit more time than we have, dear. Do you want me to give you just sort of like the highlights?
Let's do your standards then.
Okay, let's see.
Get the worst of the worst out of the way.
Responsible for the sinking of the Opal Empire.
Oh!
and the drowning of many of its citizens at the time, what you did was, when you were sinking the continent, you used earth magics to have the ground grasp at the feet of people who hadn't escaped and drag them down into the sea with it. It was quite wonderful. Then...
Seems overly complicated.
Of course, there was the, just honestly, there's about 2 to 3 genocides that you committed. You created the gremlins that steal people's loose change from around their home.
What?
That's truly the greatest crime.
Yes. Also the Tooth Fairy, but, that sort of project sort of propagated. Now there's many of them that go around stealing teeth from people's mouths anyway.
Huh. All right. The Opal Empire one, that's just going to be rough. Is there any way to reverse that, do you know?
Not off the top of my head. We had played with the idea of raising them up so that any of the bodies left on the surface could become an undead horde, but we kind of stepped away from that after thinking of the amount of necromantic energy. Oh, speaking of which, I was kind of thinking if we touched on the necromancy idea, we could use some of the skeletons, the giant snakes that are buried in the ground in this area to benefit.
No snakes, please.
Fair enough.
And thank you. How many of these giant snakes are in the area?
In the immediate area, just 2.
And how giant is giant?
If we were to say classify them in a scale of tiny, small, medium, large to gargantuan, they would be gargantuan.
Is there any way to keep them away?
I mean, they're skeletons underground right now, so unless some necromancer came here with some immense amount of necromantic energy and infused it into the direct earth below this area, you'd be fine.
So we're banning necromancers from the area. Got it.
Okay.
Well, that was a good rundown, I think.
Yeah.
How are the potatoes?
Gwen looks horrified. Gwen is just absolutely horrified. And, here's the thing. Gwen knows that wasn't you at the time, but, Gwen looks absolutely horrified.
Cassandra tries to give Gwen, a smile, I'm sorry.
And you know, that smile that you give back to someone that you're terrified of momentarily?
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, you could kill me. It's like that. But then it becomes her, regular, just, warm smile. She seems to, emotionally catch up.
I was just in a silly, goofy mood, that's all.
I mean, to be fair, dear, you're in the silly, goofy mood by my standards now, but that's beside the point.
Tomato, points of view, all that.
Ah, yes, Potato throws a potato towards Garl.
Ooh.
Potato.
I'm sure it should have been cooked.
How do you think Alessandra and Nim are getting along right now?
You are a woman obsessed.
Yes.
I mean, better than they did when they were children, that's for sure.
What would he know about that?
Just be 100% honest with me right now. I'm just going to be straight up. Do you think we could be in the midst of an enemies to lovers thing right now?
What is this episode?
Do you think it's possible?
Immediately when you say that, Gwen kind of squeals a little bit.
And you too.
And she's like, oh, we need to talk. I think we could make a wonderful book about this. And she just grabs you and runs you off.
Yes!
And you guys begin speaking about tacky romance novels with enemies to lovers arcs and all that stuff. But yes, eventually the time for the basically group meeting of information dissemination comes. Arinari has prepared a variety of finger foods, none of which are made of actual fingers, he assures you all.
Why don't I believe him?
I'll try him.
Yeah, there's like pigs in a blanket.
Oh, I have something special, a project that I've been working on these last few weeks. It's a little something for Cassandra. And Garl goes over and gets a box that has just kind of rope tied up in what appears to be an attempt at like a bow or something. It's a fairly decent sized box, and she presents it to Cassandra. It's a special sleeping bag I've created for when we have to sleep outside. And it's made of completely natural materials.
Just in my head, I'm like, if this is made of snake skin.
It's not made of snake skin.
Sandra opens it. She's really excited.
It's a giant snake that's been hollowed out and the inside has been dried, so you can use it as a sleeping bag.
That
The
is
not
girl's
really
just smiling.
cool.
Sandra, like,
Ari's pissing himself.
girl, thank you. It's so nice.
It's very warm.
Probably was when you killed it. I don't know about
I mean,
that.
it tried to eat me, so I feel that was fair.
Oh, God. Goodness gracious, Carl. You're my favorite thing in the world. And that's Ari saying that.
Garl suddenly feels like she needs a shower.
Oh, well, dear Corellia,
and-
you can't let Garl's kindness be undone so quickly. Please, let's make sure it fits. Get in.
And for Nim, Garl just grants you the magic orb that caused all the winter miracle stuff. It has now lost its luster and seems to be unpowered, but it's still a very lovely kind of just glass kind of sphere. Like I know you can do like the magic seeing into the future and far away and stuff, and I think that's what these are supposed to be for. Like you go, ooh.
Crystal
Yes.
balls and mirrors can be very useful for scrying. I'm sure I can put this to good use, Carl. Thank you.
I'll see if I can find a mirror out in the wilds next time.
As an
worry.
added bonus, because Garl is giving you that item, it does actually increase your DC to be noticed for things like scrying by 1.
Is that a negative?
Yeah.
Oh.
A negative or a... So increase my DC to be noticed. So if the DC that they would have to roll
Oh.
To notice
is like
your scrying.
35,
Would
it's
be
now
36.
36.
Yes.
So it makes her harder to notice.
Yes, it makes her harder.
Good.
Sorry, I thought you were.
Oh.
I thought you were saying it makes her easier to notice. Sorry.
Good to know.
Just by 1.
That is very helpful. Well, if I ever get a chance to scry. Technically, scrying isn't on the divine spell list. That's fine. Thank you, Garl. This is really lovely. Sorry, I didn't know we were doing gifts today. I would have gotten you something.
I sometimes need to rest in the forest, and I need to occupy my mind with stuff. So I look around. I'm like, okay, this mushroom could be pretty cool. What else can I find within reach?
Yes,
Without
Garl
getting
has
up.
been very effective at collecting mushrooms for the camp.
Don't eat the red ones.
Or do if you're looking for a good time. Anyway.
I mean, at first it's a good time, and then it's not.
All mushrooms are edible
Once.
once.
See?
All right, but what is this this intel, this meeting, and why is Aranari here for it?
Because I
Respectfully.
provide the snacks.
Provided them.
Case in point. I was like, adieu, remember me. And Aranari exits, but as they're exiting to like turn to the door, instead of like just turning like a normal person, they cross their legs and like do like a turn while holding their hat, and they go, adieu, remember me. And then they put it back on and walk out.
Anyway.
The more I play this NPC, the more I want to build him as a character.
Ew.
I will. I might need to do that now.
We love a queer-coded villain in this house.
Arnari's not a villain anymore. He's the Catra.
Debatable.
Arnari's the Catra of this campaign.
Catcher?
Catra.
No, he's
No,
not.
no,
he's not.
No,
How
he is not.
dare you insult Catra?
I will derail this entire stream to deconstruct that bad take. One,
Anyway.
he's not a cute cat girl.
Could be. Anyway.
But he could be.
Oh, boy.
But
So what is the
Gwen,
point of this meeting again?
This could have been an email.
Gwen puts a number of papers down to like the map that you all have of the world in this room. You can see that a number of the islands in the Opal Empire have just been X'd out. You can see that Magdia, there's like a number of like flags and things planted in. Looks like they're setting up like cities and camps, and it looks like they're actually like some of the refugees. Elisandra will be the one to talk about this. That a number of the refugees that you all have saved are beginning to basically, with the help of General Steel Cross, getting set up and basically learning how to fight. It looks like you guys have sprouted a willed battle in them. And a small militia has been formed. Not small, but the refugees of an entire country have effectively decided, you know what, we're going to follow these people in the battle because they helped us. And yeah, so that's basically like Magdia has become like a military hotspot again, and you know what, that's fine for Magdia because they were a war economy at the beginning of their time in this campaign anyway, so they're pretty well suited to like get that going.
Good for them.
Worries me, though, what will become of them. I mean, the goal is to end this war. So I worry about building economic scaffolding on something that we intend to tear down. But I suppose that is a worry for a later date.
It will probably only cause problems for people 5 to 6 generations down the line. Anyway.
Oh.
And yeah, so there's like notes about that. And then Elisandra is kind of going to be quiet a little bit more as Gwendolyn speaks up. Yes. Newest update. I know that it's been a while since we've had a little rendezvous with our team here, but new information's coming. Starting with Kalmia. It appears as though the Salagoza family, the current rulers of the entirety of Kalmia, have consolidated power all to Salagoza, the city itself. A number of the nobles from other cities have moved there and brought a variety of their resources with them, and it appears as though they've basically set up shop using Salagoza as like their main home, and the castle Salagoza as their main hold. They're doing some sort of experimentation there. We know that they have been causing horribly mutated creatures to roam the areas around that city, many of which have begun attacking some civilians, but it appears as though the civilians have been able to fight a variety of them off so far. We think that Trelladar is using this to create some sort of monstrosities, maybe a swarm of some sorts, to use as basically battle fodder. You know, mindless beasts made for killing. Since there are other, and like as she's saying this, she's like decidedly not looking at Garl, since their other avenues down that route did not work out well for them.
Should I feel insulted by that? I feel a little insulted by that. I don't know. I'm gonna have more potatoes.
There's
I'm in a
loaded
mood.
potato skins that Arnari made. Damn it, now I want loaded potato skins. Anyway.
Those are essentially people then. They're not...
The
monsters.
Potatoes?
No, not
Oh,
potatoes.
okay.
My
Thank
understanding
God.
is that the monsters that are being created, well, some of them have human bits attached to them. Many of them are beasts and other creatures that have been twisted and changed.
guess that's better than people, but not by that much.
And yes, as for Lutania, things appear to be somewhat stable. Many of the draconic hordes that have taken over the areas of the country have created strongholds. And there is a small resistance forming out of Lionheart. Something, I believe, Chip is being responsible for that.
Have we had word from them? I could shoot Chip and Ascendancy ascending.
Not from Chip themselves, but I've had word from people we have on the ground there that have been sending me updates. It appears that they've been quite effective. In fact, Chip's group, combined with Ascendancy and Chip leading the charge, have effectively cleared Lionburg of all dragons.
That's fantastic.
It's a safe zone that many people from Lutania are herding towards.
Oh, at least there's somewhere safe for them to stay, so...
I'm now picturing Chip with a snazzy dragon scale vest.
Standing on top of a barricade. Le Miserable Chip.
God.
Do you mind if I shoot the two of them ascending, just to see if they're alright?
If you'd like, go ahead.
Yes, just a moment.
And I send Ascendancy and Chip basically the same message saying, all's good at the base. How is Lutania and how are you?
I will let Matt think of Chip's response to that, but I will give Ascendancy's basically immediately. Things are good. Lionburg's clear. Currently building up defenses. Hey, kid, get off of the barricade. It's dangerous.
Oh, Ascendancy. Some things never change.
Kid, get off the barricade. It's dangerous. Children on barricades have a terrible track record in pop culture.
It's true. It's true. Sorry, are we waiting on me?
I
Yeah.
think so, yes.
Now, what is the message? Sorry, I'm just.
All's good here at the home base. How is Lutania and how are you?
No, Chip, remembering probably from previous interactions that there is probably a word limit or a time limit on these messages. Things going adequately. Much work to be done. Glad to hear you are safe. Hope you're drinking enough water and getting enough rest. I am counting all of this as extracurriculars.
This is your undergrad.
You hear like Nim kind of giggle at both of their responses, as it's a breath of fresh air to hear from both of them and hear that they are both in high spirits and good humor, and she relays that to the rest of the team.
Well, excellent. And then with that update out of the way, I suppose it's time we decide where we head to next.
That's a good question.
I know that Elisandra had sent her double out there. Yes, well, I still had access to her. I did. And she returned with knowledge. I do have a place that would be safe for us in Kalmia, and specifically in Salagoza, worked out. There is a building of sorts that I have rented rooms in for us that we just need to go and basically sit down. It's called the Flip House.
Flip House. What is that name from? What is it named after?
Has it been sold a lot? Like, has it been flipped?
No, it's based off of a position that the innkeepers often find themselves in sometimes. It's an inn run by two flumps.
Wow. Oh,
Okay.
that's delightful.
Huh.
As Abby, never in any D&D campaign have I run into a flump, and I love them so much.
Aw.
Like, I've got a little flump figurine. Never ran into one in any of the campaigns I've played for like 5 years. I am so excited. We're going to the flumps.
Is there a come to flump moment?
I am so happy for you, Abby. I'm so happy.
Just to be entirely honest with you all, I have never mentioned this to any of them. I just put a in run by two flumps because it came to me in a fever dream. It was fun. Anyway.
Are they two broke flumps?
No, but it kind of fits with all of Calmia because, as Alessandro will get in, is that a number of more monstrous, by what would be called monstrous, but just people, right? More monstrous appearing people make their homes there. So, like, it's common to see flumps and minotaurs and this like, basically. It's a very eclectic nation.
So the people of Salagoza, do we know if they are hostile to the resistance or not? Specifically the noble houses.
The people itself are kind of just living their lives the best they can in the conditions that they're in. From my understanding, nobility has been quite draining of them and their resources, so that many of the people of Calmia live in poverty.
So not really leaders we can work with, then.
Unfortunately, Salagoza's leaders are in direct partnership with Trelladon. This is going to be another country toppler, I'm afraid.
Well, the difference between this and the last country toppler is that with Megdia, we had people on the inside and people to instate into power when we were done.
Yes, the challenge is going to be finding connections in this new place, and if we want, we can try to set up that safety net before we topple them, or else we topple them and let sleeping flumps lie.
Let the flumps rule. Let the flumps rule the country.
I'm not opposed to letting the flumps rule. They seem to have a gentle disposition.
Now, hold on. We don't know these flumps yet. They might be like libertarians or something.
Ooh, no, we can't let... If that's the case, then absolutely not. But...
And thus suddenly the city was overrun with bears.
Dire bears.
But I suppose we can see what connections we can make when we're there. I don't suppose you ran into any kind of grassroots movement. With that kind of wealth disparity, there has to be some kind of...
Not while I was there, I'm afraid. It appears as though the people are in such a level of squalor that they're so focused on surviving their day-to-day life that they don't have time to think of anything that would improve their position. Many of them simply return home at the end of the day or go find a meaningless entertainment. They are exhausted by their lives and the work that they have to put in. So exhausted that they are obedient to the regime.
So we won't find any help there either.
Yes.
Well...
And as far as danger is concerned, my understanding is that the head of the Salagoza family, a man named Dr. Alavant Salagoza, is a skilled alchemist.
Oh. Can we assume that that's where the aberrant animals are coming from?
That is what I would assume.
Right. Well, then that needs to be put a stop to, and perhaps while we're there we can pick up... I was speaking with Drevrin earlier, and we touched upon some possible elemental powers that might be harnessed. We were aware of the fire crystals in the port city that Ray's family used to run.
Yes,
But apparently there are elemental equivalents to that for all of the elemental planes.
yes, Salagoza is the town of tempests. It has crystals that are attuned to both the plane of air and water.
Interesting.
If we need to go to Salagoza, I have a way for us to get in. However, we will need to enter by ground ship, by water ship, as a airship would be far too conspicuous.
I was very confused for a second there where you said ground ship.
Yes.
Do we have a ground?
Like just
water
on
ship?
wheels?
Yes, the airship can be used as a regular ship as well. It's multi. However, we would be putting you all onto a fishing boat, essentially, that would take you into the city.
Understandable. Okay, all right. So we go to Kalmia, we go to Salagoza, we topple a government, steal some elemental weaponry, and possibly reinstate a new form of government.
With flumps.
Can't be that hard.
I worry you are building up the flumps too much.
If we have to fight the flumps, I will.
We will
let
not fight the
Cassandra
flumps.
die.
We will not fight the flumps. William, mark
you
my
will
words.
not- you
we
will
will
not
not
fight
be
the
fighting.
Alright, so,
If the flumps work for Treladar, I'm switching sides.
noted.
Oh, don't hand him that. Don't hand him that.
I'm going to use that now. But in all seriousness, it sounds like y'all want to head to Kalmia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might make our lives in Lutania a little easier.
Alright, so then
Also,
in that case,
beat up aberrant animals.
we are going to jump forward a little bit then.
Ooh.
You all have basically, you get your stuff, you gather up everything. The airship brings you out to the sea where the fishing vessel meets with you. And we're going to pick up basically as the fishing vessel that you guys get traded off onto is pulling close to the docks.
Ooh, before we leave, I just want to give Garl the opportunity to change the password before we go on this mission if she wants.
Yes, I am sorry. There was one more. There was one more thing. That I
Fair
wanted
enough.
to do
We'll
before
do
we
things
left.
that you want to do before you leave then. And then we'll pick up from there.
I had Garl started a list, couldn't decide on anything, and then when you finally come and ask again, just says parsnips.
All right, parsnips.
Oh.
And I'll say if you want to tell somebody else what your new password is, I'd suggest writing it down and handing it to them instead of saying it, and then of course destroy the paper just so it doesn't get spread around too much.
She leans in really close to you suddenly, like right next to your ear. I don't know how to spell parsnips.
Yes. Okay. Here's what it looks like. We'll practice writing it a few times just in case. So Parsnips. That's what it looks like. If you want to try writing it a few times, here's the quill while I prepare the spell and everything. Yeah.
It's an S, not a C.
Yes.
Okay, I get those sometimes a little mixed up. I don't know why they both have sounds. And sometimes
I think they'll get the gist of what you're saying.
Okay, immediately goes to find Nim then.
And yes, as long as the spell is done consensually, it will just auto-succeed.
Zoom.
Yeah.
Password updated.
Word updated.
Chad,
Man.
you make good points. Garl is not that smart necessarily.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
what I was thinking actually, but we'll be beside the point.
Yeah.
Nim, what did you want to do before you headed out?
I'm going to head to Niloy, actually.
Okay.
and knock on the door, see if he's in his wherever he's staying. I'm assuming we gave him a room in the house.
Come in, yes. Guests, come in.
Good morning. I had a favor to ask of you.
Of course, I'm currently working on something for Gwendolyn right now, but what do you need, Miss?
Can I be nosy and ask what?
Oh, yes, of course. She wants me to write some sort of fictional story about two young women who began basically as bitter rivals but end up becoming a lovely power couple by the end of it.
Oh, that sounds interesting, but
Yes.
I don't think I'd be much help with that. What I wanted to ask you about is, I plan on doing some detect scrying around camp. With all of the to and from with the airships, I'm a little bit worried who might be drawing attention. I can cast it up to 8th level. I'm hoping maybe you can prepare it and help me, just so we'll have as many opportunities as possible to catch if anyone's spying on us.
I've been helping Aranari set that up, actually. It's been going quite well, but if you'd like to set up your own, I'm more than happy to.
Absolutely. Do you have a specific... I know Aranari was setting up wards against scrying, but I was doing like a detect scrying to see if someone is already
before we
up to it.
Before we began setting up the wards, we did a quick run of the entirety of the camp. Whilst you were all in the Magiscod Wastes. We did a quick run. Yes, whilst you were all in the Magiscod Wastes, we did a quick run of the camp and made sure everything was cleared up.
You didn't find anything?
We did not find any scrying bugs. And then we set up the wards of anti-scrying. So anything to scry on this location would need to beat those wards somehow.
May I ask what level you cast detect scrying at, and what level the wards are?
Well, on a scale of 1 to 9, my understanding is that Aranari is capable of 8th level spells.
Alright. Well, just because he's capable of it doesn't mean he's done it properly, but...
From my understanding, he's quite proud of his work.
Indeed. I don't trust him to necessarily be helpful. I'm sorry, I know everyone else here seems to have this fabulous opinion of him because he makes good waffles or whatever, but I can't get past the fact that he put me in a space bubble and paralyzed me and hurt my friends and switched us into each other's bodies. It was really gross and really uncomfortable and really uncalled for. Anyway, apologies for unloading that, but I think I will do a little bit more detect scrying just in case. I'm a little paranoid about it.
Of course, go ahead.
And I do. I'll say that for the day I had prepared it at like 8th level, because that's...
let me just take a look at that exact spell.
I think I have it open.
As I want to, like, just make sure that I'm not...
I can read it for you.
Sure.
I'll do it in, like, the main front of the house. By tapping into Trace Divinatory Auras, you detect the presence of scrying effects in the area. If Detect Scrying is a higher level than a scrying effect, you gain a glimpse of the scrying creature and learn its approximate distance and direction. That's why I'm doing it at 8th level, because I believe the highest scrying spell is 6th, and you can't really upcast it. The scrying spell doesn't have any heightened effects.
And you got a new orb.
And I got a new orb. Granted, that doesn't help me detect
No.
scrying.
Yeah, okay. Roll me a D100.
A D100. Fuck.
Yeah.
Alright, hold on. Tabs open, I'm sorry.
How many tabs do you have open, Mackenzie?
A 6? I rolled a 6 out of 100.
Okay.
If this was Channel Divinity, that'd be great.
So, your Detect Scry goes off for a moment. The source appears to be yourself.
I'm scrying on myself?
Sorry. The scrying is being, like, centered on you. You catch a view of your mother.
Oh, no! And I'm assuming her location is Trelladar?
Yes. Trelladar, but it appears... It doesn't give you the exact location. So, yes, northeast, approximately several hundred miles. I don't have a scale for the world map that I love yet, but a fair amount of ways away. Like the distance from LA to Winnipeg.
Okay. But solidly in Trelladar.
Solidly in Trelladar.
Oh, I don't like that. I think I go back to Naloy immediately and I say, your wards aren't working, they're not working!
What do you mean? We didn't find any sensors while we did the camp while you were in the Magiskard Wastes. If
That's
if
the
another
problem, that's
sensor
the
to make
problem.
it in, it would have to be attached to something. Oh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah?
But we've been here for weeks.
Yes. I'll get Arnari on it.
But if they already know...
Now, if we've been here for weeks and they already know, I'm surprised they haven't launched a counterattack at this point.
As am I. I'm really torn. There's a part of me that wants to send something vicious and awful over sending to my mother at the moment, but I don't think that's the strategic thing to do.
Maybe she secretly cares about you and she's just making sure you're all right. Putting on a kind of hatred thing for Trelladar so they don't suspect that she's secretly protecting you.
Well, you know, I had a private conversation along that lines with Lynx, actually.
Which is
Like, we can still hear his voice. Oh, wait, he is here.
Their voice.
Yeah, just
Don't
to
do
give
that.
chat-
Fake
just to
coughing
give
is
chat
bad for you.
context, Cooper is ill
oh, that
right
was not
now.
on purpose. That was actual coughing.
Yes,
Oh, no.
Cooper is ill
Cooper's
right
not
now,
doing
so
super
they
well.
are resting up in chat.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But
Nim tells Cassandra, I broached it with Lynx because I had this... I just had this thought when we were in Megdia, when we learned that people thought that all of us were dead. That I thought it was very strange because I had been sending to my parents after we had been declared dead, and they knew that I wasn't dead. But Trelladar didn't seem to know, and I just thought that was fishy.
Fishy.
I don't know. I asked Lynx if I was being stupid to, hope that that was a positive thing, and he said I wasn't stupid, I was just extremely human, and I am still trying to decide how I want to interpret that. But,
I'm sorry, did Lynx play the, oh, you're just a human, you'll never understand emotions at the level of us elves card?
not really. Like, if it had been anyone else saying that, I would have just written it off, but he just...
I think it's just like that.
I
think
also
he's
had
just like
had colleagues when I was working who were elves who would often belittle me for being a human. It was very uncomfortable.
Every once in a while, he'll make a comment like that, like, oh, we need to respect the fact that Nim is so fragile. And I'm like, that's a really rude thing to say to somebody, but he doesn't seem to think...
it doesn't matter.
And-
That is a low priority issue at the moment, considering that my mother is just casually scrying on me.
So you haven't done anything terribly embarrassing recently, have you?
Had a rather vulnerable discussion with Alessandra that I'm now worried that Trelladar was privy to.
You had an emotional discussion with Alessandra.
We have business to talk about, largely about the Baba Yaga. It was fine. But, anyway, my point to Lynx was that it just seemed odd that my parents were continuing to sell the lie that we were dead.
Perhaps in some
If they weren't
way
trying
they
to
still
protect
want
us,
to
but
protect
also
you.
perhaps the higher-ups in Treladar are also in on it, and is selling that lie to the general public so that they don't think that anyone is coming to save them. I just go back and forth on these things. My mother specifically, like, I told you that she was made aware of the events at the tournament. And afterwards, she, pulled me aside and she told me that she was happy that I was an adventurer. And when I learned what she was doing in Treladar, I thought that was so strange because I just couldn't fathom why she would want me to be on the opposing team if that's what she was doing. And for the longest time, I thought maybe there's some discrepancy there. But then I remembered, like, the very last thing she said to me was, "Be sure to write." And I don't know, what if the reason she wanted me on the opposing side was so that she could gather information about the League and what we were doing? Just, free information, and she would have done it too. I was really excited to write her letters about going to the Opal Empire and meeting the Emperor and all of the things that I was excited about doing.
Aloy
and,
just kind of walks over, puts a chair down, sits you in the chair, kind of shoos Corellia out of the room, opens a book. All right, so Nim, let's talk about your relationship with your parents.
Oh, it's not good. It's really bad.
Okay.
I don't know whether they want me dead or if they've got some kind of alternative plan, and it's... What is that book for? What are you writing?
Notes.
For what?
I'm a licensed therapist.
Are you?
Yes. Well, at the
What
time,
is
I
your
suppose my
rate?
license expired, but
Oh, then never mind.
it's like riding a bike, I suppose.
That's fair.
I mean, when your entire society crumbles, what is a license anyway?
You have a point there. Anyway, my mental faculties aside, that's a little irrelevant given the fact that we may have just had our entire base of operations compromised.
Well,
Or not.
if it makes you feel any better, Nimbus, if you are being scryed on now, then most likely you were being scryed on long before these events. Which would mean that the knowledge of this location has been out for some time, and nothing has come of it, which is very against what Treladar normally does. They're not the type to sit and wait. They're often the type to react when something goes wrong.
See, I don't know if that's true because... No, think about it. Between the 6 months of Magdia being taken down and Treladar making their move, that was a long period of time. They're very methodical about how they plan things out, and if they've got something in the works, I'm
Yes, but
really
in the case
scared.
of this war, they've been very active in their change of plans. For example, when you went to aid the Opal Empire, they immediately began sinking the islands to put you onto a clock.
That's true.
Also,
I don't understand why they didn't sink the islands earlier, though.
Perhaps they didn't want to... From my understanding, they were using arcane bombardment, which takes a fair amount of magical resources to do. Perhaps they were trying to ration out the resources, do it slowly so that they could save more arcane power.
But if Treladar thought we were dead, why would they suddenly... Are you saying that they amped up their bombardment when we came? Is that what you're saying?
I think upon the suggestion of people going to help... I think upon the suggestion upon people going to help the Opal Empire, they increased.
But how would they have known? How would they have known that anyone was coming?
Well, you all jumped out of an airship in the middle of the sky.
Oh, you know what? That might have done it. That's fair. That's a fair point. I didn't think about that.
I mean, to be fair, the mission to Calmia will be a good sort of litmus test for this, because you're going in stealthily.
That's true.
For now, I have this. And he, like, pulls out, like, this, like, wrapped sort of, like, metal, just, like, metal thing. It's like a wrapped metal cylindrical thing that's like a necklace. I promise it won't give you radiation poisoning, but it does prevent scrying.
Any other kind of poisoning?
No, unfortunately.
Asbestos?
Unfortunately, God,
I'm not there.
Yes.
Don't listen to me yet. I'm not there.
It will prevent scrying. You will need to attune to it, however.
That's fair.
It will take an investment slot.
A what?
Investment slot.
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the term.
One's magical body can only attach to so many magical items. Anyway.
Yes, But wouldn't this be akin to letting her know that I know? I guess if she's scrying on me right now, she knows that I'm having this. Ugh, this is so frustrating. I will wear the scrying necklace for the.
Nimbus, I would love to unpack this more at a later date, but for now, let me leave you off with this. A person's relationship with their family can often be incredibly
Oh no, you
turbulent.
froze.
Oh no.
Just a little bit.
You froze. You said,
I
"Let me
froze.
leave you off with this,"
Let
and
me
then you
leave you off with
completely
this.
froze.
A person's connection to their family can often be incredibly turbulent, and the relationships that they created with their mother and father can often be incredibly tense for some individuals, and those relationships can often become incredibly strained. But more often than not, those maternal figures often do have what they believe, at least, is the best interest of their child at heart. Not in the case of all maternal figures, mind you. There are some shitty parents out there, but from what I understand of your family and from what I've gathered from Gwendolyn's conversations with me, etc., about you, I think until the cards are on the table, that you should try not to worry about it.
You know, I asked her if she wanted me dead. Do you know what she said? What her reply was?
No. What did she say? And he brings the book out again and...
She said, "What's another 20 years? We can always try again." So, I don't know. There is a large part of me that would love to believe that this is all part of some larger machination, but I feel stupid for hoping for any such thing. I don't know. I don't know if she is instinctually maternal or one of the shitty ones, but that's where we're at right now.
Nim, if I may place my hand on your shoulder.
You may.
And he
I
kind
would
of just
actually really like a hug.
puts his hand, brings you in for a bit of a hug, and as he's hugging, he's like,
Thank you.
oftentimes when people are so used to traumatic events happening in their life, they can become incredibly hardened. And sometimes it's important to take a step back, breathe, and think, just because of the traumas I've dealt with in the past and have endured does not mean that everything needs to become traumatic. That there can always be a positive spin to new events, new people. Take a moment. Take that breath. And quite honestly, it sounds incredibly corny, but a little bit of hope can go a long way to changing the world around you.
You'd make a good Desnan, Naloy. Thank you.
Yes, she was a lovely person back in the day.
What?
elaborate on that? I'm sorry.
I
What?
actually have to get back to writing, I'm afraid, but
Okay.
there was a time when the gods were very active on the world. It wasn't until after the lens of creation were used that they kind of left.
Yes, but you're not that much older than I am. What do you mean she was... Who are... What? You're not going to give me any answers, are you?
Esther goes back. I have a book to write. I believe it's about you. And he sits down.
Oh, all right. I will let you get away with this time, but I have questions when I come back, and you would better be ready to answer them. She leaves.
All right. So then at that point, we will fast forward to when you are all on the fishing boat going in towards Calmia. And we will end tonight's session with some block text.
Block text.
Block text.
As a crack of lightning illuminates the city, the stark contrast between the ramshackle metal homes that line the streets of Salagoza and the castle at its center is made clear. As you approach the city in your fishing boat, another strike of lightning highlights the cliff face at the city's center. A collage of carved stone figures supporting the hill and the castle that sits on it. The cobblestone paths and roads sit slick with rain and filth, while a thick fog hovers over the city's streets, causing the electrical lamps that light them to produce an eerie yellow and pale green glow. Hooded masses line the streets, clamoring for space, and fishing vessels line the docks, doing the same. And as your vessel pulls into the crowded dock, a gangplank is placed onto it. As you step onto the docks, the immediate crowd hits you.
Huh?
You are in a place that is almost claustrophobic. And as one of the people moves through the crowd, you all notice their hood falls. And for the briefest moments, you see several tones of skin almost stitched together as they pull it back over. And that is where we are going to end tonight's session.
I think I know what this is, but I will not say something.
Okay.
Join us next week. Thank you all so much for coming to tonight's episode of League of Amazing Adventures. Join us next week as we enter into Salagoza at night. And our party begins to deal with a new type of monster to them. Aberrations.
The hunt begins.
Fair warning, this next arc is going to be a little bit spooky. And we're going to have some fun with one of the very interesting aspects of Pathfinder for me that I find very cool from reading things like Abomination Vaults, which is an AP. Flesh warps. We'll
Yes.
find out about that next week. So thank you all so much for coming. Don't forget to check out our many other shows here on the channel. And I will see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.